Hey, Mr. Petru. Hey, great to see you again this off week of the new show since the brackets came out. Glad you were amenable to getting together and talking through some of this. So, yeah, this is going to be awesome. Let's roll.
All righty. Yeah, this is a. It's weird. I have a melancholy kind of, because it's what we wait for, and then it's also a signal that it's almost over. So
Yeah.
and like
That's it. You know what? Thank you for saying that because I'm kind of conflicted. I'm kind of conflicted about this. Like I'm like, oh, the tournament, yay! I'm like, oh, what a bummer. You know, like it's hard to wrap my arms. I need a therapist, so maybe I should talk to them about that.
no, and then after this first weekend, then half the teams are out, and then
Yeah.
all the fans and posters of those teams sort of fade away, and
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell everything. Like, we haven't heard from. He's gonna love that I'm throwing him in the show. Like, we haven't heard from D4 Pace from
Yeah.
Tough like all year long.
Yeah.
And now Tufts
He's
is on.
out.
Yeah,
He's
now
out.
they're on a little run. They're like, he's like all jacked up and trying
Yeah.
to get the whole alumni base going.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
but
and then
yeah,
you
and
start.
then
I mean, it's great to see. I will say that you're starting to see posters with like a total of whopping 3 posts with all the conviction in the world.
right,
It's like,
right, or
okay.
somebody joins just so they can complain about something. Um,
Oh, that's great. That's
and then
great.
after the second weekend, then it's really, then you head into there's that. Then I think we hit Thanksgiving, and there's a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. Then it's a real dead period.
Yeah.
And the Final Four is exciting, but basically your team's probably gone. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So, but in line with that, um, I thought we might start with the snubs, which in my opinion actually were not as bad as some years. Like
I would
thought,
concur.
I thought for the most part they got it right, but to deal
Hmm.
um, with your team, I think it is actually maybe you're secretly table max, but I mean I think it is hard to wrap your brain around like 16 2 and 2 and
Yeah.
plus it's true they did have some very they beat Calvin.
Yep.
I think they and they got screwed on things. Didn't they play North Park? Did they beat North Park, or was that John Carroll? I
That's
can't
John
remember.
Carroll, I think. Yeah.
But then teams that you would think would count as a ranked win didn't end up being ranked, and the Marietta game really. I don't know if like if they had played a team with a good record instead of
Hmm.
Marietta, and then they
Yeah.
played the next game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might have gotten into that SOS range where
Hmm.
where they were sort of right there with Carleton, who was
Hmm.
not Carleton's sort of a good comparable because they weren't much above Mount Union on
Yeah.
SOS. But I had when Denison beat Owu back to back and then beat Kenyon, I had a feeling Denison was going to sneak in the rankings. So anyway, I didn't. Part of the reason I didn't post any predictions on the board is that I have some Bowdoin friends and like one particular guy. Yankee soccer dad is like a favorite of mine.
Uh huh.
Um, and I sort of had a feeling, people kept putting Bowdoin in their prediction, but I they only had that one rank win, and I had a feeling they might not get it. And then in terms of, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Bowdoin to me seemed like they I don't want to I don't know if Wayne waned at the wrong time, but they did. They started out pretty good going through October, and then they started the Amherst and the Hamilton and then Tufts the 2 times in a row. Like they peaked at the wrong time. They if they had a much better second half to their season than the first, I think they would definitely be in. But I just think those again, I just look at it from my standpoint. Like consecutive losses late in the season are a lot worse than if you lose at the beginning of the season, right? Just because it's, I don't know if
Right.
that's right or wrong, but
No, that's no, and I. But then you sit like, oh, Wu lost back-to-back games to
yep,
Denison, and so it really. Anyway, I mean, I'm confident that Bowdoin is one of the top 20 teams in the country, but that's just
yep,
not how
yeah,
they have
no,
these formulas and they didn't make it. So,
yeah, yeah.
and then I feel some other ones I felt bad for were one of your favorites, Milwaukee School of Engineering.
I thought they should have been in
Yeah,
again. Another one that I think just should have been in for their entire season. What they do, you can't. At some point, you can't necessarily. I think the strength of schedule thing only goes so far. That's at some point you just have to look and say what did they accomplish? Which again, they're
yeah,
16-2-3. Like, I mean, that's a really good performance, but
yeah. Um,
I think the only other one I would add to that. So my I have four: Mount Union, Milwaukee, Bowdoin, and then I thought Texas Lutheran. Even though I'm not a big fan of theirs based on that one game, but
right.
I thought that they could have been worthy of consideration.
Yeah,
At 14-3.
that one game just really
Yeah,
it saved St. Thomas, and it was I don't know, that was just a disaster. But yeah,
yep,
their one, Brockport got kind of. I knew Rochester. Rochester is like so. They make it every single year, and like their record's almost exactly the
yeah,
same. But who did Rochester
yeah,
beat the last? They beat Emory, right?
yeah.
I think they beat
Yep.
Emory the last game of the season.
And I think that's what made it for them. I think that
Yeah,
was like the game. If they don't do it in that game, they're not in. I don't think.
yeah, I think they jumped Brockport there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so anyway,
But
Muhlenberg, Keene. I mean, there's some others that probably had a
yeah.
shout, but
I think I don't know if this is true, but I do think that there's a whether it's whether it's overt or not. Like there is something about the history of a team, right? Like Ohio Wesleyan 44 times in a row or whatever their NCAA. Like that's a factor when you're judging teams and being like, oh, they have a history, they have, so let's go with them. All things being equal, and I think some of that played out this year. I don't think that there was any really glaring, no undefeateds, right? Like Western Connecticut last year,
right.
who is going. So but I will, yeah. It's like a case of you have 64 teams. Why isn't it 80? Whatever, Why can't you add 12 more teams? And you could
Yeah.
have fit these guys in there. So much as it pains me.
Um, all right, so you want to like jump in and
Sure. All right, let's go. All right, can you can see it, right? You can see the.
yeah, starting with Mary Washington.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. So this is the upper left. We'll start upper left and we'll go down and.
um,
All right, so that first game. All right, Mary Washington wins, and I think they're going to face John Carroll.
yeah, Messiah got knocked out by Newman one year.
Oh, they did. I didn't. I didn't know.
Don't tell Falconer that, but
No. Yeah. Yeah. He'll deny.
but
No. Never happened.
yeah, I think Mary Washington and John Carroll are gonna play, and actually, Mary Washington and Messiah have probably been the two best teams all year, and people
I think so.
they've sort of gone under the radar, like even though
Yeah.
they're the two best teams.
Yeah. I don't.
Like people don't talk about Messiah hard, unless
No.
Falconer jumps in there.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I think they've been the most consistent. When you watch them play, they're consistently good. I think they
Yeah,
both had a couple moments where you're like, maybe they just didn't show for that game. But I think by and large, over this course of the season, I actually think that they are what, not to the same degree because I thought they were dominant. Both teams were dominant last year. Was Chicago and Messiah. I thought that they were head. They were. There's a big distance between them and everybody else. I don't think that distance is as great this year.
right.
But I do think if you put it a category, it's those two
Yeah,
on
agreed.
their own.
So who? I think this is a fascinating matchup. What do you? I mean, what do you? How do you think the Mary Washington John Carroll game will play out?
Something's up with John Carroll. I don't understand, so I would default to Mary Washington. I think they have on both sides of the ball. They're very good. John Carroll looks. I mean, even at the Mount Union game where they conceded 3, and they just look like they don't have all. Defensively, they're not. Something's not clicking. So I would default to if Mary Washington can put goals in, right? So it's not. I think they would have
Right.
to. John Carroll would have to play extremely, extremely perfectly, and I'm not sure they showed they could do it this year.
Yeah,
For the first time.
I don't know if John Carroll has some injuries but
I don't know.
but given their preseason expectations and all of their excitement after they beat up on my team,
Yeah.
I actually think this is a big. Um, I think John Carroll needs to win this game. So
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily expecting them to, but I'm going to pick John Carroll there.
Ooh, drama. I was gonna say, and I was looking at this game, the first game, the John Carroll St. Mary's, and I wasn't completely sold that John Carroll would beat St. Mary's. I thought, oh, maybe this is a game here, and that this is the type of game that John Carroll could slip up on. But I think they're good enough where they'll. This is a game that if they should win, they will win, right? Whereas, so that's why I was saying John
Yeah.
Carroll. But I don't. I'm not sure they have it against Mary Washington. Who knows? But yeah, I'm sticking with Mary Washington. All right.
And then go ahead. I'll let you
Um,
handle the next one.
yeah. So I have no doubt. Even though 14-3-3 Dominican, I don't think they're going to be able to handle Kenyan. Much, I'm sure you're happy about that. And then this is the game for me. Washington College Otterbein. Another really two teams that sort of flown under the radar ish.
Yeah.
Washington College definitely. I sort of thought they were on a bad trajectory, and here they are now in the NCAAs. So, I
Yeah,
think I don't know who.
I'm picking Washington College to come out of that whole pod, like to beat Otterbein, and then if Kenyon wins, to beat Kenyon or Dominican. Um,
You're picking Otterbein. Wow.
no. I'm picking Washington College.
Oh, Washington College. I'm sorry, Washington College. I
Yeah,
could see that. I could see that. Yeah.
yeah. I think Washington
I could
College is at minimum going to get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean,
I
unless they lose to Otterbein, which you know sometimes that first round game is. I mean, that's a dead even game. I think on paper.
Oh, totally,
Um,
totally. And
so yeah,
and and the interesting thing is, right. This is hosted by Kenyon on
that's
grass.
that's almost never good for Kenyon, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, never. No, no, no. I'm not saying for Kenyon's
Proceed.
sake, but Washington College and Otterbein are both turf teams.
Oh, Washington College is turf too. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
yeah, yeah. Great stadium, but yeah. So that could prove to be interesting for them.
Yeah, that has potentially PKs written all over it.
Yeah, I could easily go that far. I would not doubt it in the least.
Yeah.
I thought they looked. I will say Washington College. I thought they looked really good against Muhlenberg. I was surprised. I was surprised at the difference. Like I thought Muhlenberg was a little bit better,
Yeah.
but they proved that to me that they weren't as good as I thought they were. And Washington College was a lot better than I thought they were. So
So I'm picking John Carroll to play Washington College in the Sweet 16.
drama.
Well, you got to mix it up a little.
I'm actually. You know what? I'm going to have faith where you don't have any, my friend. I am going to step into that breach.
Yeah.
Mary Washington Kenyon.
All right.
I'm gonna I think Kenyon gets it going. I just have that feeling. And I'm gonna root for Kenyon all the way through, and then just because I know you're gonna be so gun shy, I'm
Well,
gonna wear purple. My purple shirt's inside out. So it just was a purple T-shirt instead of a Mount
yeah.
Union T-shirt.
Well, this is how my lack of logic works. Like, I honestly don't think Kenyon's going to get out of the weekend, but if they do, I think they'll beat Mary Washington. And if they end up playing John Carroll, that'll be a rematch
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't
All
know if
right.
I'll be able to fend off the OAC
Juggernaut.
fan base.
Oh, you're totally Bunker is going to come
Yeah,
after you.
yeah,
And then you're going to find out you've been on triple seeker probation for a long time.
right. By the way, the boards have been down. Like, what's those? That's like, why is that? That's like, it doesn't even work anymore.
No. Yeah. Drives
All
me
right,
nuts.
all right.
Looking to solve, although boards are boards, I'm not sure how much would carry over, but
Yeah,
all right. The next poddish thing. Elmira, I actually had to go look because I have not watched an Elmira game much to my I'm very apologetic for. I knew that they were a thing. I just didn't know that they were a thing that they could. They're 7-6-5, and I think they get in because they won the Empire 8. Right, that's the only way. But I think they're going to get their NCAA participation coin, and then
yep.
Montclair is just going to roll right over them.
I hope we both don't have to admit every team we haven't watched, but
Yeah, this is one I
um,
did.
I think this is a fascinating grouping because actually Manhattanville I think could pull an upset, but
I
let's
do actually. That is a good point. I do think that they are capable of doing that,
and
or
Christopher
taking.
was kind of erratic, like
Yeah, I do think Manhattanville. I mean, look if they could get him to penalties,
yeah,
I would not be surprised. Right, like whoever the winner is at that point, but
right.
I could see Manhattanville taking him to penalties, no doubt.
But let's assume Montclair and Christopher Newport make it. I don't know what to. I don't know if that's the best matchup for Mont. I mean, that's going to be a wide open, up
Hmm.
and down. Like Christopher Newport, like
Likes to go.
yeah. Um, so I mean, that could be it could be a 1-0 game or it could be 4-3.
I'm
Um,
I know this is gonna be a shocker. I'm putting my money with Montclair.
No, I know you are.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm still. I think this could be. They could be. Hear it here first, second or third. I can't remember where I said it before, but Montclair is one of the two public school teams that I could see winning it all.
Okay. Is Montclair your 2023 national champion?
They could be.
Yeah. All right.
They could be.
Well, okay. Well, they got to get out of the weekend, and then we'll see.
Yeah. So Montclair, Christopher Newport. Let's just. I'm assuming it's that. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm, and then I'm gonna pick Montclair, and
Okay.
then this is where it gets interesting. Franklin and Marshall, Geneva, Connecticut College, Denison. That's the other one. That's the other game. It's like wow, that's going to be a game. Who's hosting this one, by the way? Is it Christopher Newport?
No, F&M.
It's F&M.
No, Montclair is hosting the one with Christopher Newport, and then this
Oh
other
yeah,
one.
yeah. Like I might have to drive up there for that one.
I'm going to have to go against my better judgment because they always disappoint, but I'm going to pick Franklin and Marshall to get through. Definitely Geneva, and I think they're going to beat College.
Really, I could see that because there's a
It's a
there
little
is
bit
a
like your Montclair thing.
yeah.
This is.
Franklin and Marshall has this like I think their sister school soccer school is Amherst, in that they're really good at punching you in the face real early, and then you just have it. You just battling it out, and I think they're very good at that. And I you know what I am going to say I'm going to say Franklin and Marshall Montclair is going to be the game at the end of
Wow.
the yeah.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Um, and well, it sounds like you think the College Denison game may be pretty interesting.
Oh, totally. I think that's going to be a great game. I,
So you, so you think Denison can play with them?
yes, I totally do. I totally do. I think they've shown to me the OU games where I thought they were. I'll just say soccer wise, they're very capable, but I also think tactically they're very aware. And
Yeah.
I think the hard part, the only thing is Denison hasn't really faced a team like College in how they move the ball, sucker you in one side, and then ping it to the far side, and then you're just totally exposed. And I think that's the only adjustment I think that they really need to make. But and they've shown Connecticut College has shown they could score goals, right? So they're going to have to be Denison's just going to have to be really masterful defensively. But
Yeah, I definitely hope Denison shows well just for the NCAC conference. But
yeah,
you never. I don't think they've played. I mean, they've had a decent schedule, but they haven't played that level of competition. I think
right. That's
consistently.
I'm going to look here. Hang on. Where are you?
But they just beat OU twice in Kenyon, so
Yeah.
um,
I think probably, and it's not even close. Like, they played the Case. They played Case. And they lost to Case.
but
And
they beat
obviously,
John Carroll.
they beat John Carroll,
That was
right?
a little
Like,
fluke. That was fluky a little bit.
and I think Connecticut is a better version of, definitely a better version of soccer than Case and John Carroll. So I think it might be an uphill battle for them.
Yeah.
Watch, we're both going to end up on their locker room board saying, "Look what Paul Newman and Simple Coach said about us." Don't stand a
Um,
chance.
You'll know better than me whether this matters, but that game will be played on Franklin and Marshall's turf field. So
Correct.
um,
It's gonna matter for Connecticut, that's for sure. Because I think they were been on grass all season. Denison's been on turf because they're building their stadium, a magnificent place for anybody who doesn't know. Like in the valley, I don't know what it's called, but it looks like a valley when you pull up to it. So, yeah. All right, next one. Why isn't that going? Let me move over. There we go. It's kind of funky. Can you see that?
we're going to what, Amherst?
Amherst.
Oh, did we finish the bottom of the other one?
I thought
Oh,
so.
we did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Oh no, we still got the rest. Sorry, completely forgot. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
We're still on that side. Sorry. Okay.
All
All right.
right. You or me?
You.
All right. Calvin's going to crush Greenville.
That was. Yeah. There's no
That'll
more
be-
thought to that. Like.
That no. That'll be the last mention of Greenville in the show. And then Wartburg and Gustavus, I feel like is very similar to Wash College and Otterbein. I think
Otterbein. Yeah.
that this has PKs written all over it.
All
So
over it. Yeah.
0-0, 13 to 12 in the PKs.
And the
Is that- don't
goalkeeper
they-
misses.
Don't they have? Is Wesley Saunders their goal? He wore a mask last year, and they beat St. Olaf in PKs, maybe in like
Maybe, I
the
don't know.
Sweet 16.
Could
I think
be.
they got to the Elite Eight last year and lost to Chicago.
Gustavus?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, last year they did. Yeah. They went far. Yeah, I could totally see this being a going to PKs. Like this is that 0-0. Although I am a Gustavus fan, I think they can play, and if they're at their best, I don't think Wartburg stands much of a shot. So to me, it's going to be Calvin Gustavus,
Okay.
and at that point, I'm actually again another team under there. I'm going to go with Calvin. I think Calvin's a lot better than what they get credit for. So
Yeah, I think Gustavus would. I mean, if they could get to the half, keeping Calvin scoreless, then I think they got a shot. But
yeah, they're potent. They're potent. Calvin's got yeah, and they got speed. They got a lot of team speed. They transition so well. Like they recover the ball and they can be off to the races, and you don't even know what hit you.
yeah, this
so-
could be their year.
This could. No, it's Montclair's year.
I heard that rumor. Unfortunately, they're going to lose to Christopher Newport. No,
Yeah. Or Greenville. They're going to make it. Greenville's going to somehow jump the bracket.
I'm going to go Chicago Owu. Although Owu was ranked number 1 or number 2 in the country in 2012, and they lost to Rose Holman on their home field.
I'm going to say something here. I actually chose Rose Holman on this one.
It's actually 2013, but yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
Rose Holman could do it this year. All right, they beat Ohio Northern, and I think that was early in the season, but I think they could do it, and I don't think Ohio Wesleyan is doing all that like they're not as solid as they were previous years. So if there's a year that I think Ohio Wesleyan can get booted in the first game, it's this one.
You think Jay Martin's going out like that?
I mean, you always throw these facts at me. Like, no, I don't.
He just lost to Denison like back to back.
Yeah, Yeah.
He hasn't slept in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. He's already like coming up with energy drinks for them to drink on the day of the game, so that they run for 90 minutes of nonstop. Yeah, no, I think Rose Holman. I had picked. I thought it was. I think it's going to be Chicago, Rose Holman, and then I think
Uh,
I don't know there. I'm not confident in Chicago either. Which, again, who called it? I called it early on. Chicago. I'm not too sure.
you did. You weren't quite as prescient as you were last year with Con College, but it's close.
Yeah.
And then this might be your upset, although I'm picking St. Olaf, I think, to get to the Final Four. But Wisconsin Superior is, what are they, like 17, 3-1? And I looked up their, I mean, they
They
tied.
are. Yeah.
They tied Platteville.
Yep.
They, who else did they? They lost to McAllister, but they tied somebody else pretty good. Eau Claire, they tied.
Yep.
Who's the next? Right down there. But I'm going to assume St. Olaf can. They're playing at home. And then this next Carleton Pack Lutheran, I have like no clue.
And I like Pacific Lutheran, but Carleton can play. I will give them credit. They're really organized. I don't know.
What is it you like about the Lutes?
Well, I think they're like a very California team. They move the ball really well. I think they control the tempo. The games that I watch, I think I watched 3 of them. They control the tempo of the game with the ball. And I think they defend well as a unit. My only thing is, let me just confirm something.
I'm only going to say this because you're wearing that damn Denison hat. But Pacific Lutheran isn't in California, I don't think.
Well, West Coast. Sorry,
okay.
West Coast team. Here's the thing, though. If I'm going to be honest, it's Wisconsin. They're going to be playing in Wisconsin, right?
No, in Northfield, Minnesota.
Okay, so less north than Superior.
They're playing at St. Olaf.
They are at St. Olaf. No, I don't think so. Hang on.
St. Olaf isn't hosting?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I have Platt. It's the next bracket down.
So Carleton literally has to drive 5 minutes to get to the field.
To get to the field, which is... and it's going to be cold. That place looked like frigid their last game. So I don't know if Pacific Lutheran is going to be able to, feel as comfortable in that kind of environment. But... right? Am I right?
No, that's a great title for the show. Like, it's gonna be cold.
Yeah. I mean, I'm serious. Like, even last year, what was it? St. Thomas in Chicago, and it was like minus 32. I will say St. Thomas looked like they should have won that game, but Chicago, like in shorts and t-shirt, no big deal. And
yeah.
Anyhow. I'm gonna go. I don't know. I could see PKs all over again. I could see PKs
on Carleton Pack-Lou.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you $5 if you can name the nickname mascot of Lake Forest.
There's a bear claw there, so I'm thinking bears.
I think they're the Foresters or the Lakers or.
Then what's the deal with the paw print?
That's just I have no idea.
Lake.
And that will be the last mention of Lake Forest this year.
Yes. But they're always in it, aren't they? Like every
Uh,
year they seem to make the or
I
they're
think
always
that
brought up in this.
I think
They
that's
are the
Wake Forest.
Foresters. Oh, that's Wake Forest. Yeah, maybe. They are the Foresters.
There
They
you go.
are with the paw print because Foresters have paw prints, I guess,
Right.
that look remarkably like a black bear paw print that you see. So
All right, and who?
uh,
I'm curious who you think is going to win this bottom one.
it's going to be. You know what? I'm going to go. It's going to be Platteville North Central. I don't think 90 Minutes of Hell is going to do it enough for Eau Claire against North Central. Where's the. Let me just pull up their record really quick. Where to go? Where to go? North Central. I love how everybody's confusing North Central Minnesota with North Central
Right.
Illinois, by the way. So the last time North Central lost before Carthage on was it PK? Not PKs. Before they lost to Carthage in the final, the
Double OT. Yeah.
the double OT, the Illinois Wisconsin Athletic Conference, whatever it is. They lost to Carleton 1-0, and then they proceeded to win. They went one. They went 9-0-2 after that loss. So I'm thinking, having lost to Carthage, they're going to come back and do what's necessary to win it, and that's my theory.
Okay.
So then it's going to be Platteville North Central. And I mean, this is like another Amherst. Platteville strikes is again their sister colleges are Amherst. And you know what? I'm going to go with the surprise. I'm going to go with Platteville.
Did you watch them play? Didn't they play Mary Washington in the coast to coast final?
They
Did you
did,
watch
and
that?
they lost 3-2. Well, Mary Washington was up 3-1, and then I think they scored on a PK, I think, at the end.
Did you watch any of that?
I watched bits of it. The cameras, for me, or the video wasn't really that good, which always sucks. But I thought there were stretches of possession where Mary Washington just, they were just working it around the constant press of Platteville, and I don't think Platteville was terribly effective at containing them. I thought it got more interesting in the second half when Platteville just sort of got all amped up and started trying to go after the game. But
Did Platteville beat? I think Platteville beat Christopher Newport, didn't they? In the semifinal, maybe.
that's in the semis, yeah. In the previous, where are they? Pull it up.
Yeah, I don't really know much about how they play. I just know they've had a very very good season for them. But
They beat Christopher Newport 2-1. They beat Salisbury in PKs. They beat Christopher Newport, and then they lost to Mary Washington. This is the type of game too. I'm like, Christopher Newport, you guys should take care of business to show how good you are, and then they don't. Right? Like that's my issue with Christopher Newport this
yeah,
year is, well,
no, they'll beat like Washington Lee and then lose to Lynchburg, or they're just not.
yeah. They just can't keep this consistency of, hey, we're going to play these top teams and we're going to beat them.
Right.
They sort of ebb and flow, and I don't know. It doesn't fill me with the warm and fuzzies. But so in my book, it's going to be then. I'm I can't even figure out it would be Platteville versus. I'm I don't even know. I'm gonna go Platteville versus Carlton.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's interesting.
Um,
And I think they could do it. I think Carlton could do it.
so if Platteville knocked out North Central and then St. Olaf, I don't know who would hosting might be important there.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking St. Olaf is going to win. If St. Olaf gets through the first two, they're going to host again the next weekend.
Yeah.
So they would be playing Platteville at home. Not that, I mean, Platteville doesn't care about the cold.
They relish it. Those are the kind of
Exactly.
people that it's like the colder it gets, the less clothes they wear. Like
Yeah, I mean, they're
it's just-
they're pioneers.
they're pioneers, man, with pickaxes. Like
Exactly.
come on.
How do pickaxes relate to pioneer?
I don't know. That's
Speaking of
minor.
bear.
Yeah. I thought it was pickaxes because they used pickaxes to cut holes in ice so they could go ice fishing. That was my.
There's only one person on the board who knows the answer to that question, and you know who that is, right?
Oh, who?
Sager.
Oh yeah, he's kind of in tune to all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he'll know that.
He's probably like a master Trivial Pursuit player.
Yeah, he sort of checked out a couple of weeks ago. But,
Yeah. All right.
yeah, so I'm going to stick with St. Olaf, but
Okay. Whoops. All right. Let's go up here. You know what's funny on this one? I could not figure out. Ugh, why is this doing this? This one's gonna have to be. We're gonna have to look at it this way because for some reason every time I make
That's
it bigger,
fine.
it messes all up. So, you know what's bad? I spent probably like 15 minutes. Who is SUNY Poly? Like I'd never heard. I always thought it was like SUNY Tech or something like that, and I couldn't figure out who SUNY Poly was.
yeah. I have a semi mailbag question for you on that.
Okay.
Do you think Inmore really spent just 5 minutes researching SUNY Poly just so he could find out they're the Wildcats, or do you think he spent 8 hours studying and he sent Justin Serpone a 35 bullet like this is how you should.
This is how you should play.
Yeah. And this is
my recommendation. Based.
and I'm sure he already knows this, but the coach at SUNY Poly is Peterson Jerome, who played 2 years of community college in New York, and then he was Big Ten All Conference at Ohio State.
Wow.
And he's in his 20th year there.
Wow.
Peterson Jerome. So, Justin Serpone didn't play any soccer at Ohio State, I can tell you that.
No, he did not. Yeah, but it still doesn't matter because we're not going to hear of them after this game.
And that's the last time you'll ever hear the name SUNY Poly.
Yeah. Greenville, SUNY Poly, Elmira, and Newman. They're done.
Oh, my God.
And then the next one. Oh, yeah. And this was the one I was saying to you. I don't understand how WPI all of a sudden hosts, which is fine. Fine campus that it is. I'm just surprised that they're hosting.
It's another football field, too, right?
Yeah. That's all they have. It's a football stadium. They play in the football stadium. They do. What's cool, though, is like the stadium is here. Right next to it is a parking garage. And it's literally at one end zone. So it's the football field going the lengthwise. And at the one end zone is a parking garage. And on top of the parking garage is all turfed, and it's a practice soccer field, and I think they play softball up there, maybe baseball. I don't know. It's pretty cool. Anyhow, and they also have their logo looks like the looks like a satanic the emblem of the Church of Satan or something like that. The really scary ram or whatever it is. Like, yeah. But anyhow, so Stevens, I watched WPI for 45 minutes.
Against Babson?
Maybe it was Babson. I can't remember who. This is a while ago, so it wasn't Babson.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. It wasn't Babson. I don't. Stevens to me has been another one very inconsistent this year. So, I mean, to me, this is just a. I think Stevens will take it. I think I'm more comfortable saying that because I watched them more than I did WPI. But yeah, so I'm going to stick with Stevens on that one. So it would be Stevens Amherst, and I don't think there's much question at that point.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if WPI got to PKs with Stevens, but
No, yeah, I can, like I said, there seems to be a consistency issue with Stevens. Stevens last year was really good, week in, week out. This again, just don't seem to be the team that I thought they would be.
yeah. No, it's easy to forget. They were in the Final Four.
Final Four, yeah. So, and then the next one, I mean, another one. I'm assuming Texas Dallas is UT Dallas, right? Like that's University of Texas Dallas.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be the last time we talk of them. I think. I think Trinity takes this one, and then the next one. That's a tough one. That's going to be a game, but that's a tough one. Who hosts this? Who hosts this one? Do we know?
Trinity.
Trinity does. Lovely grass field. Love that place. You know what? Much to my chagrin, just because I don't know what it is about the Texas teams in the last month or so with some of the stuff that's gone on, but I'm going to think, broken legs and cards and all that kind of stuff that really soured me for some reason. I think I'm going to go with St. Thomas because I do think St. Thomas is really good on the ball. And I'm not sure Occidental can handle that as well.
And then who would you pick? Who would you pick? St. Thomas Trinity on Trinity's home field after the debacle that just happened.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter because they're all going to be so injured. They're going to have to cancel the next game. Whoever wins. I don't know. I'm going to go with St. Thomas. I'm going to go with, even though Trinity did beat them, I thought St. Thomas looked really good. I thought they looked really good. And I think Trinity just was not lucky, but they were really good on the counter. They just sat
during
back
the regular season.
During the regular season. Yeah. And I was surprised. Like, it's one of those where it's like, oh, this is what Trinity does. No, I was like really surprised at how effective they were on the counter.
Yeah.
And I don't think St. Thomas will allow that again.
There's rumors that Texas Lutheran is sending busloads of fans to the Trinity St. Thomas game.
Really? How great is that?
How weird is it that these all go together for the next weekend? Like you've got Worcester, Massachusetts, and then Texas.
Yeah. That
really is unfair.
That's to me. I'm spending other people's money, all right? Let me just be clear about that. I'm fully cognizant that I'm spending other people's money. But I have a hard time believing that the NCAA can afford to mix these guys up so that in a way so that, right, like effectively you're taking, 3 Texas teams and a California team, right? Occidental's California.
Yeah.
And you're going to have them compete for one spot. What if you mixed them all up? What if you sent, right, like the NCAA helped or sponsored, did something, sends UT Dallas up to WPI and sends Stevens down, like mix it up a little bit more.
No, can you imagine what the NESCAC people would do if those two pods were Con, Tufts, Amherst, and Middlebury, and
Oh my God! Exactly.
only
That's what
one of them?
yeah, only one of them go through. Imagine
Yeah,
that. Imagine that happens. I think
yeah,
it's effectively the same thing, right? I just don't. To me, I don't understand that.
yeah.
And it only works in their case, like you said. If it were NESCACs, right?
Do you think Trinity or St. Thomas or Occidental would have even a Hail Mary chance against Amherst?
Yes.
Which one?
Here's the thing. I would actually say Saint in this order: Saint Thomas, Occidental, and then Trinity. The team has to know how to deal with Amherst. I would like to say the first 15 or 20 minutes they come out flying. They're going to beat you at every ball, and you have to learn how to deal with that. And I think St. Thomas can, just by virtue of control of the ball, I think they could slow the tempo down, and I think that they could neutralize Amherst that way.
And do you think, because you realize they would be doing that on the Amherst field, like
Yes,
you think they can pull that off at Amherst?
they'll have to, right?
Well, there's one thing we know for sure: St. Thomas will do absolutely anything to win. So,
Correct, right? Like, hey, we've talked about this, and I'm not saying that there's a conspiracy theory or anything. Okay, maybe I am saying there's a conspiracy theory amongst referees to allow certain type of play to happen at Amherst's field. And my thing has always been, I'm not sure other teams have been, one, prepared for it, and two, prepared to give it back. And I think St. Thomas has proven the track record to give it back. Like, you want to mess, we'll mess around. And I don't think Amherst is necessarily used to that. I
yeah,
would say that. Go ahead.
yeah, that would be great drama.
Yeah.
The one thing for Amherst I don't think St. Thomas has the size. I mean, Amherst goes like 6'8", 6'5", a bunch of 6'3" guys. I mean, they're just massive. So I don't know that St. Thomas
Has the size. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. So you can't give throw-ins, and you
And I
can't
guess
give
their
corners.
striker is injured.
Yeah.
That Toddy Alaman hasn't been playing a lot, so I don't know if he's injured or.
So anyhow,
All right.
yeah, whether this whole, it's Amherst to like it's Amherst's opportunity to lose. You know,
Yeah,
like
Amherst. Let's be honest. Amherst got gifted to the Elite Eight.
correct. I don't think there's another way to describe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we're in trouble now. And more Cat, I love you, man. I so want to come visit you in Australia. Okay. Another one. Another one we're not gonna mention ever again. Cortland, Alfred State. Oh, it was nice knowing you, Cortland. I'm going with Cortland.
What is that thing? A moose?
You know what? That's a good. Yeah, it looks like the bull on Wall Street, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Alfred State Athletics.
Get Sager on the horn.
I'm doing my own research. It
I
looks
think.
like
Go ahead.
it looks like a bull.
All right.
Looks like a bull. I don't know if it does. It looks like. Does this go up? Did that? Can you see that?
Uh,
No, you can't. All right. Let's get sidetracked on this. This is too good to. Like, look, that's a bull. That's got to be a bull. Look at that thing. That's the Wall Street bull, and on Wall Street, like the big statue.
oh, they're pioneers, I think.
They are.
Alfred State pioneers.
What does the bull have to do with it? It makes as much sense as the pickaxe. They lose automatically. I'm done with them.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Cortland. This is another interesting match. I only watched Hobart once.
Yeah.
Case Hobart, and who are the? It's Cortland, right? Cortland's hosting.
Yes.
Cortland is hosting. Yeah. I don't know. This one I don't know. I don't know. It could go to a penalty kicks, and just a coin toss at the end. They've gone into so many penalty kicks that they just say we're done. We're just going to flip a coin, whoever wins.
Yeah, this sub quadrant I've been like all over the map on in my head. Like, I actually think, because I think Cortland is it's a little bit like Montclair and F&M. Like, is this their year? And I have a feeling I could see Case Western, especially, and even Hobart
being a spoiler.
Yeah, and then at the bottom, I've gone all the way from the Johns Hopkins Babson winner will knock out Middlebury to Middlebury is going to be the national champion. Like, that's but I'm not sure I see Cortland getting out of that whole group with Middlebury.
I think they can. I think this is my thinking again as to their path to the national championship, because they're the other public school that I say could be national champions.
So if they played Middlebury in the Sweet 16, which would probably trying to think if that would go.
I'm not. So I'm gonna. This is. You're going to say, oh, it's tremendous bias because I like to pretend that I'm as smart to go to Johns Hopkins. But I actually think Johns Hopkins over the last 3 games has actually looked really, really good and can take down just about anybody, including Middlebury. And so if it were a Middlebury-Johns Hopkins game, I would be torn. Like, I could see Johns Hopkins taking it. And if Johns Hopkins plays Cortland, I think Cortland could do it against Johns Hopkins.
Well, if it's Cortland, Johns Hopkins, then Cortland will probably be hosting. If it's Middlebury,
it'll be up in...
It might... And remember, Johns Hopkins would be playing Middlebury at Middlebury.
Middlebury. Yeah. I totally get it.
And the problem for Johns Hopkins is, I do think they could play with Middlebury and beat them, but I don't know if they're going to get by Babson.
That's a good point. I'm not sure either. I mean, that's one
of the great first round games.
Yeah. I'm saying Johns Hopkins is on a roll.
Yeah.
All
right. So you got Johns Hopkins eventually playing Cortland there.
Yes. As much as crazy as that sounds, and as like maybe I should pop pills to calm down those types of crazy thoughts. But it it is, yeah.
I'm
I
going to
think
go with Case Western and Middlebury.
Case in Middlebury. Yeah, I mean that's legit too. That's the crazy part. Like you said, you could
Right.
do 50 different variations on all of this because these teams are. We haven't said anything about Western New England, so I'm just going to say Western New England, and then we'll just move on.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for Western New Englanders. I didn't even look up your record. I thought I did, but I guess I didn't. Okay. And now another one that we'll just mention. Baruch, congratulations on making the tournament. It was
Here,
nice knowing you.
here's your
So,
party. Here's your party.
yeah, here's your NCAA participation coin and Messiah. This is a good game right here. Ohio Northern Lynchburg.
I think Ohio Northern got screwed here. Like
Yeah.
they won the AOC, OAC,
OAC. OAC, yeah.
and they have to play Lynchburg at Lynchburg.
At Lynchburg, yeah. Yeah.
And I think Ohio Northern will win. But
I
it's
think
a
they
tough-
can.
it's a tight one.
I think they can. I wonder sometimes, does Lynchburg just act as the spoiler? You know, like all these big games, they come up and everybody's like, "Oh, Lynchburg," or are they that? I don't know. I go back and forth. Are they that good? Right? Like I don't know.
I don't think they're that. I think they're a slightly better version of Denison, and and that they play very close to their ceiling
Yeah.
frequently. But I don't like. I would give Ohio Northern a better shot against Messiah than Lynchburg. I don't know if that's. I don't know.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to pick Ohio Northern to beat Messiah.
Drama. I don't. I just don't see that.
Yeah, I don't either, but it's fun to do.
Yeah. Got it. That's the. When we were talking in pre-show, right? Like it's
Right.
it's totally about we got to take the opposites of whatever.
Right. And for Brevard, is that a tornado?
For who?
Brevard?
Brevard? Yeah, it looks like. Let's see. Maybe we should do this. Brevard Athletics. Yeah, the tornadoes. Look at you. Look at you with those keen eyes. There it is. Look at that. That would make for a nice hat, don't you think?
Absolutely.
I wonder what they're 7, 8, and 4. Oof. Playing Emory. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't. Oof. Sis. I mean, I just don't. I mean, I don't see it. I just don't see it. So, Emory, it is. And guess what? I'm going to call Oglethorpe on this one, Mr. Petru. I saw them play Swanee,
Yeah.
and I thought they were they were an underrated team.
Well, they only have to drive across town too.
Yeah. So I'm going with Emory Oglethorpe, and then I'm going to actually give it to Emory. I think Emory's kind of on a roll.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a. I think they may have tied on opening day. You check that?
Who?
Emory and Oglethorpe.
Let's see.
Or Oglethorpe either tied or beat Washington Lee, or
They beat Washington and Lee to open the season.
and then do they tie Emory after that?
And then they tied Emory 2-2.
Yeah.
Look at you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sneaky good game, partly because they're both in Atlanta.
Yeah. And did you know? Okay, here's one. This is a mailbag. This is from Sally, who we're not doing mail anymore. She texts me because we're tight.
Yeah.
Do you know what the Oglethorpe mascot is?
Oh, you're throwing me a softball. They're the Stormy Petrels.
You are correct. I did not know that until I watched that Swanee, and I'm like, why do they keep saying that? Like, I didn't know. I didn't know it was an actual Stormy Petrel was a bird.
Yeah.
That's, it's amazing what hanging around educational institutions will do for you.
We might be selling Colorado College short, but
Yes.
um,
I you know what? They're to me, that's one of the teams that could be like, I look at that game and I'm like, oh, everyone's going to say Colorado College and not think Oglethorpe. And I, having watched Oglethorpe and then watched Colorado College when they were, good and maybe not so good, I think Oglethorpe could do it. So to me, it's it ends up being Emory Oglethorpe, which leaves to Emory, and then it's Messiah Emory, and then I would just do Messiah.
all right.
And then Bridgewater State, we've said it. Okay, Tufts is the winner.
All I can say about Bridgewater is I used to work in Bridgewater. But
Very good. Is that Bridgewater? That's not the Virginia Bridgewater, right?
no, that's Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. There's one in. Isn't there one in?
There is.
There is. Okay.
There's one in the ODAC.
Oh, that's it. That's what I keep thinking. And then Paywall versus Johnson Wales Providence, which has an interesting. Right, they have two campuses, one in Providence and one down in like Charlotte or somewhere.
Yeah, I think they have one in Colorado too.
Ah. So I'm going with Paywall. I think Johnson and Wales gets their participation coin and gets to move on. And then Tufts Rochester. I'm telling you, Tufts is vulnerable. I think this is the watch. They're gonna be. It's gonna be like the Final Four is gonna be all NESCAC if that's even possible. I think this is the weakest NESCAC teams in the last few years. The weakest NESCAC teams in the last few years. Like, they're not as dominant to me as they had been even last year. Last year, I thought, outside of Tufts, I thought they all looked really good. Shocker. So it'll be Tufts Rochester. I will stick with Tufts, but I could see Rochester being a spoiler.
Yeah, I think Rochester won't have quite enough offense to
Correct.
beat Tufts.
Right. They're going to have to be flawless.
Yeah.
Flawless defensively. Right? Because the one mistake, they'll pounce on them. Tufts will pounce on them like.
And Tufts is feeling pretty good about themselves right now, too.
Yeah. So, Washington and Lee WestCon. I think this could be an upset in the making. I could go with WestCon here.
Yeah, that's a fascinating intersectional matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness WestCon made the tournament this year.
Yeah. Well, they won the conference, so that helped a lot. But yeah. Because I don't think they make it otherwise, right? Like,
no, absolutely not. Yeah, they had to have the.
They had to win it.
Yeah.
And then Oneonta Catholic. This could be another upset, but I just don't think Catholic has it. I think Oneonta will take this one.
Yeah, you're kind of a Catholic expert, right? You know a fair amount about.
I didn't watch them at all this year because that's not true. Where did I watch them? I watched a couple of their away games. on their off schedule because they pay-per-view conference.
Gordy Bernlohr.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the kid's good. If he's like your major scoring threat, trouble. All right, like you need something else. I don't think they have like a real. They're very one-dimensional on attack.
So you got you got Western Connecticut versus Oneonta.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna pick Oneonta there.
All right.
And then I would say it's Oneonta Tufts. And then...
Which is a rematch from last year when Oneonta actually beat Tufts.
I did not remember that.
Yeah.
Really?
And I don't think Oneonta is going to beat Tufts this year. But
No, I don't think so either. So I would give it to Tufts. So that would really leave, like... Tufts versus Messiah. Who did we say here? We said Calvin. Calvin versus... Who do we say? I mean, that could be interesting. Platteville, maybe? I forget. Anyhow, that could be... There could be some interesting... It might get really heated here in the quarterfinals. We might get somebody to sneak in too. Like maybe we could get like the underdog to slip through to the quarters. Somebody like Calvin could get through.
yeah, I don't think of Calvin as an underdog, but yeah, they.
No. I don't mean that either. I just mean
Yeah.
like nobody's thinking of Calvin, right? Like
Right.
because they do their thing and
Right.
they don't get the notoriety that some of the other teams do. All right. So that covers it. Any last minute sage words of advice or thoughts?
I'll just say quickly. I think you gotta see second round matchups that are must see are Mary Washington, John Carroll, and especially Franklin and Marshall versus Connecticut if that happens.
Oof.
And
I
then
might have to go out. I might have to go there for that one.
And then Middlebury versus the Hopkins Babson winner.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to tell you. Let me just tell you my Elite Eight, Final Four, and champion.
Okay.
My Elite Eight is John Carroll versus Franklin and Marshall.
Okay.
Chicago versus St. Olaf. Amherst versus Middlebury. Although I'm tempted by Hopkins and Babson. And you already laughed at me, but I got to stick with it. Ohio Northern versus Tufts. And my final four is Franklin and Marshall, St. Olaf, Middlebury, and Tufts. And my national champion is Middlebury.
I think under that scenario, I wouldn't disagree with you.
You mean under the scenario where all the other favorites lose?
Yeah, yeah. Way to pick Middlebury all the way through, and in such a No, I wouldn't disagree with you.
Well, the first time I did it, I had Middlebury going out in the second round. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty wide variation, but
Yeah. But that's the thing. I think this year you could see that sort of thing, right? It's not as clear cut. I think that, you look at, again, Mary Washington and Messiah, I could sort of be very clear about how far they're going to get without sort of being contested, right? Or I don't think that they would be pressured into losing or whatever. Everyone else is kind of like, yeah, maybe. Oh, they could lose that game. There's not that conviction that you would think. Even with, like I said, even with Middlebury, I don't know. I don't know. It's another one where I'm just kind of. I've told you, said it before. Just there's something about them. I just don't. It's not a. I don't have the conviction of the other Middleburyans have about them this year. I think they're good. I'm glad we're talking about them and not Williams. Like I think they're that. I think right. So, but
No, Middlebury's got to prove it.
yeah. I think that's part of it, right? It's like, well, you've sort of been in this. You've been in this situation before, and you've never sort of amounted to, and you never got it going. So you got to show it that you could do it before I sort of think that you can handle going through the tournament. I don't know. And they do, and not all due respect to Western New England, I don't know how they play, but assuming that they get through them, they got to face Babson or Johns Hopkins, and I think those are really talented teams. I think Johns Hopkins goes up against Middlebury, and Middlebury's going to have a hard time. Like it's just gonna, because that's what Johns Hopkins just picks you apart, right, and moves the ball, and they've shown that they can get to goal now for the last 6 games or so. Like they've done something that's really working. So anyhow, Drew.
All right, sir.
This was fun. We
Thank
shall
you.
connect again at some point, maybe after the first rounds or before definitely before the final. We'll come together again. All right.
All right. Get that Dennison hat off your head, though.
That was so unintentional. It was so very unintentional. Like it was not. Had I known, I would have worn. I don't know. I would have worn.
No, that's absolutely disgusting.
It was so not intentional.
No, I watched that game with my son, and he actually dislikes Dennison more than he dislikes Owo.
Because of that game, or from his own personal experience?
Just historically, in terms of the rivalry,
yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right, brother. We'll see each other.